Okay. Today's the wonderful day where we get to hear Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita by His Divine Loving Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Thank you. I feel very honored to be here today in this August assembly of Vaishnavas. Please give me your blessings that I'm able to speak something that will make a difference. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Everybody. Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. So we're reading from The Lord Instructs, Sanatana Goswami. Okay. So we're text chapter 20, text 120. Okay. Madhya 20, text 120. 120. 120. Maya Magda Jivera Nahi Swata Krishna Jnana Jivere Kripaya Kaila Krishna Veda Purana. Translation. The conditioned soul cannot revive his Krishna consciousness by his own effort, but out of causeless mercy, Lord Krishna compiled the Vedic literature and its supplements, the Puranas. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. A conditioned soul is bewildered by the Lord's illusory energy, Maya. Maya's business is to keep the conditioned soul forgetful of his real happiness, real relationship with Krishna. Thus, the living entity forgets his real identity as spirit soul, Brahman, and instead of realizing his factual position, thinks himself the product of material energy. According to Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 7, text number 5, Jaya Samohito Jiva Atmanam Trigunatmakam Paropi Manyute Natam Tatkritam Karbi Pate. Due to this external energy, the living entity, although transcendental to the three modes of material nature, thinks of himself as a material product and thus undergoes the reactions of material miseries. This is a description of Maya's action upon the conditioned soul. Thinking himself a product of the material energy, the conditioned soul engages in the service of material energy in so many ways. He becomes the servant of lust, anger, greed, and envy. In this way, one totally becomes a servant of the illusory energy. Later, the bewildered soul becomes a servant of mental speculation. But in any case, he is simply covered by the illusory energy. Out of his causeless mercy and compassion, Krishna has compiled various Vedic literatures in his incarnation as Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva is a Shaktyavesh avatar of Lord Krishna. He has very kindly presented these literatures to awaken the conditioned soul to his senses. Unfortunately, at the present moment, the conditioned souls are guided by demons who do not care to read the Vedic literature. Although there is an immense treasure house of knowledge, people are engaged in reading useless literature that will give them no information on how to get out of the clutches of Maya. The purpose of this Vedic literature is explained in the following verses. Text 123. Shastra Guru Atma Rupe Apanare Gyanana Krishna Mora Prabhu Trata Jivera Hoy Gyan. The forgetful conditioned soul is educated by Krishna through the Vedic literature. The realized spiritual master and the super soul. Through these, he can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead as he is. And he can understand that Lord Krishna is his eternal master and deliverer from the clutches of Maya. In this way, one can acquire real knowledge of his conditioned life and can understand how to obtain liberation. Purport. Being forgetful of his real position, the conditioned soul may take help from Shastra, Guru, and the super soul within his heart. Krishna is situated within everyone's heart as the super soul, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, text 61. Ishvara sarva bhutanam hrideshi arjuna tishtati brahmayan sarva bhutani yantra rudrani mayaya. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing the wanderings of all living entities who are seated as on a machine made of the material energy. As the Shaktyavesh avatar Vyasadeva, Krishna teaches the conditioned soul through the Vedic literatures. Krishna externally appears as the spiritual master and trains the conditioned soul how to come to Krishna consciousness. When his original Krishna consciousness is revived, the conditioned soul is delivered from the material clutches. Thus, a conditioned soul is always helped by the Supreme Personality of Godhead in three ways: by the scriptures, the spiritual master, and the super soul within the heart. The Lord is the deliverer of the conditioned soul and is accepted as the Supreme Lord of all living entities. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 8, text 66, Sarvadharman parityagya mam ekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo moksha yishyami masucha. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. This same instruction is found throughout all Vedic literatures. Sadhu, Shastra, and Guru act as the representatives of Krishna, and the Krishna consciousness movement is also taking place all over the universe. Whoever takes advantage of this opportunity becomes liberated. Can you imagine this whole Krishna consciousness movement is taking place all over the universe? Let's hear how that takes place. Text 124. The Vedic literatures give information about the living entity's eternal relationship with Krishna, who is called Sambandha. The living entity's understanding of this relationship and his acting accordingly is called Abhideya. Returning home, back to Godhead, is the ultimate goal of life and is called Prayojana. Text 125. Abhideya nama bhakti prema prayojana purushartha shiromani prema mahadana. Devotional service or sense activities for the satisfaction of the Lord is called Abhideya, because it can develop one's original love of Godhead, which is the goal of life. This goal is the living entity's topmost interest and greatest wealth. Thus, one attains the platform of transcendental loving service unto the Lord. Purport. The conditioned soul is bewildered by the external material energy, which fully engages him in sense gratification in various ways. Due to engagement in material activities, one's original Krishna consciousness is covered. However, as the Supreme Father of all living entities, Krishna wants his sons and daughters to return home back to Godhead. Therefore, he personally comes to deliver Vedic literatures like the Bhagavad Gita. He engages his confidential servants who serve as spiritual master and enlighten the conditioned living entities. Being present in everyone's heart, the Lord gives the living entities the conscience whereby they can accept the Vedas and the spiritual master. In this way, the living entity can understand his constitutional position and his relationship with the Supreme Lord, as personally enunciated by the Lord himself in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, text 15. Vedaischa sarvaraham eva vedya. Through the study of Vedanta, one may become fully aware of his relationship with the Supreme Lord and act accordingly. In this way, one may ultimately attain the platform of loving service to the Lord. It is the living entity's best interest to understand the Supreme Lord. Unfortunately, the living entities have forgotten that this is in their best interest. And therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam says, Nate vidu svarta gatim hi Vishnum. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Text 5, Chapter 5, Text 31. Everyone wants to achieve life's ultimate goal, but due to being absorbed in the material energy, we waste our time with sense gratification. Through the study of Vedic literature, of which the essence is the Bhagavad Gita, one comes to Krishna consciousness. Thus, one engages in devotional service called Abhideya. When the living entity actually develops love of Godhead, he has reached the ultimate goal, Prayojana. In other words, one who becomes fully Krishna conscious has attained the perfection of life. Krishna Madhura Sevananda Praptira Karuna Krishna Seva Kare Ara Krishna Rasa Asvadana. When one attains the transcendental bliss of an intimate relationship with Krishna, he renders service to him and tastes the mellow of Krishna consciousness. This is why we have this wonderful temple and we have these wonderful deities, Sri Sri Radha Golokananda, so that we can all render service unto them and attain our relationship with Krishna, revive it. Text 127. Iha te drishtanta yaiche daridrera gare sarvagya ase dukkha deki pachai tahare. The following parable may be given. Once a learned astrologer came to the house of a poor man, and seeing his distressed condition, questioned him. Purport. Sometimes we go to an astrologer or palmist when we are in a distressed condition, or when we want to know the future. The living entity in conditioned life is always distressed by the threefold miseries of material existence. Under the circumstances, he is inquisitive about his position. For instance, Sanatana Goswami approached the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to ask him why he was in a distressed condition. This is the position of all living conditioned souls. We are always in a distressed condition, and an intelligent man naturally becomes inquisitive. This position is called Brahma Jigyasa. Atato Brahma Jigyasa. Vedanta Sutra 111. Brahma here refers to the Vedic literature. One should consult the Vedic literature to know why the conditioned soul is always in a distressed condition. The Vedic literatures are meant to free the conditioned soul from the miserable conditions of material existence. In this chapter, the story of the astrologer, Sarvagya, and the poor man is very instructive. Tumi kene duki tomara ache pitridan tomare na kaila anyatra chadila jivana. The astrologer asked him, "Why are you unhappy? Your father was very wealthy, but he did not disclose his wealth to you because he died elsewhere." Text 129. Sarvagera vakye kare tanira udeshe aiche Veda Purana Jive Krishna Upadeshe. Just as the words of the astrologer Sarvagya gave news of the poor man's treasure, the Vedic literatures advises one about Krishna consciousness when one is inquisitive to know why he is in a distressed material condition. Sarvagera vakye mula dana anubandha sarva shastre upadeshe Sri Krishna sambandha. By the words of the astrologer, the poor man's connection with the treasure was established. Similarly, the Vedic literature advises us that our real condition is with Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, text 26, Sri Krishna says, Vedaham samatitani vartamanani charjuna bhavishyani cha bhutani mam tu veda nakaschana. O Arjuna, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I know everything that has happened in the past, all that is happening in the present, and all things that are yet to come. I also know all living entities, but no one knows me. Thus, Krishna knows the cause of the condition, of the distressed condition of the conditioned soul. He therefore descends from his original position to instruct the conditioned soul and inform him about his forgetfulness in relationship with Krishna. Krishna exhibits himself in his relationships in Vrindavan and at the battle of Kurukshetra, so that people will be attracted to him and will return back to Godhead. Krishna also says in the Bhagavad Gita that he is the proprietor of all universes, the enjoyer of everything that be, and the friend of everyone. Bhoktaram yagnatapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suridam sarvabhutani Bhutanam. Bhagavad Gita 5:29. If we revive our original intimate relationship with Krishna, our distressed condition in the material world will be mitigated. Everyone is trying to adjust to the distressed condition of material existence, but the basic problems cannot be solved unless one is in an intimate relationship with Krishna. Text 131. Vapera dana ache, gyane dana nahi paya, tabe sarvagya kahe tare kraptira upaya. Although being assured of his father's treasure, the poor man cannot acquire this treasure by such knowledge alone. Therefore the astrologer had to inform him of the means whereby he could actually find the treasure. Estane ache dana yadi dakshin kudibi bimarula barilu utubi dana na paibe. The astrologer said, the treasure is in this place, but if you dig toward the southern side, the wasps and drones will rise and you will not get your treasure. Text 133. Pashi cheme kudibe taha yaksha ekahai se vignakaribe dana hatana padaya. If you dig on the western side, there is a ghost who will create such a disturbance that your hands will not even touch the treasure. Text 134. Utare kudele ache Krishna ajagare dananahi pabe kudite gilebe sabare. If you dig on the northern side, there is a black snake that will devour you if you attempt to dig up the treasure. Text 135. Purvadike tate mati alpa kudite danera jirya padibeka tomara hatete. However, if you dig up a small quantity of dirt on the eastern side, your hands will immediately touch the pot of treasure. Purport. The Vedic literatures, including the Puranas, state that according to the position of the conditioned souls, there are different processes: karma kanda, jnana kanda, the yogic process, and the bhakti yoga process. Karma kanda is compared to wasps and drones that will simply bite if you take shelter of them. Jnana kanda, the speculative process, is simply like a ghost who creates mental disturbances. Yoga, the mystic process, is compared to a black snake that devours people by the impersonal cultivation of kaivalya. However, if one takes to bhakti yoga, he becomes quickly successful. In other words, through bhakti yoga, one's hands touch the hidden treasure without difficulty. So what is that bhakti yoga? Bhakti yoga means devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The goal of all the revealed scriptures and the Vedic literature, Vedic injunctions, is Krishna, as he himself says in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, text 15. Vedaischa sarvam eva vedya. Since the Vedas enjoin one to search out Krishna and take shelter of his lotus feet, and since no Vedic process but devotional service will enable one to do this, one has to take up the process. But devotional service will enable one to do this. One has to take to devotional service. According to Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, text 55, only the bhakti process is said to be definitive. Bhaktya mam abhijanati. This is the conclusive statement of the Vedas, and one has to accept this process if one is serious in searching for Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this connection, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur gives the following statement. The eastern side represents devotional service to Lord Krishna. The southern side represents the process of fruitive activity, karma kanda, which ends in material gain. The western side represents jnana kanda, the process of mental speculation, sometimes called siddhi kanda. The northern side represents the speculative method, sometimes known as the mystic yoga system. It is only on the eastern side, devotional service, that enables one to attain life's real goal. On the other southern side, there are fruitive activities by which one is subject to the punishment of Yamaraj. When one follows the system of fruitive activity, his material desires remain prominent. In other words, by that fruitive activities, our material desires just become more and more inflamed. Consequently, the results of this process are compared to wasps and drones. The living entities is bitten by the wasps and drones of fruitive activity, and thus suffers in material existence, birth after birth. One cannot become free from material desires by following this process. The propensity for material enjoyment never ends. Therefore, the cycle of birth and death continues, and the spirit soul suffers perpetually. The mystic yoga process is compared to a black snake that devours the living entity and injects him with poison. The ultimate goal of the yoga system is to become one with the Absolute. This means finishing one's personal existence. But the spiritual part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead has an eternal, individual existence. The Bhagavad Gita confirms that the individual soul existed in the past, is existing in the present, and will continue to exist as an individual in the future. Artificially trying to become one with the Absolute is suicidal. One cannot annihilate his natural condition. A yaksha, a protector of riches, will not allow anyone to take away riches for enjoyment. Such a demon will simply create disturbances. In other words, a devotee will not depend on his material resources, but on the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who can give one real protection. So this is a very, very important point that Prabhupada is making. A devotee does not depend on material resources, just like we see the example of Srila Prabhupada. He had no resources. When he left on the Jaladuta in 1966, he had 40 rupees and a set of Srimad Bhagavatam, and I believe Chaitanya Charitamrita, which he read on the way. And by the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because he was doing the work to glorify Krishna and to satisfy his Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, look how Krishna, within how many years? 10, 12 years? 12 years. Srila Prabhupada created a whole Krishna consciousness movement with over 100 centers, deity worship, restaurants, forum projects. Srila Prabhupada was an amazing, empowered personality of Godhead. Considering all these, this is called Rakshishya Titi Vishvasa, or in the Bengali poetry, Vishvas Palana. The surrendered soul must accept the fact that his real protector is Krishna, not his material acquisitions. Considering all these points, devotional service to Krishna is the real treasure house for the living entity. When one comes to the platform of devotional service, he always remains opulent in the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Just like here, we're experiencing this by serving Shri Radha Golokananda, by going out on Harinam, by distributing Srila Prabhupada's books. So much opulence is flowing from above. And this is such a wonderful temple. And when one comes to the platform of devotional service, he always remains opulent. Not only opulent, but he remains in the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One who is bereft of devotional service is swallowed up by the snake, the black snake of the yoga system, and bitten by the wasps and drones of fruitive activity, and he suffers consequent material miseries. Sometimes the living entity is misled into trying to merge into spiritual existence, thinking himself as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This means that when he comes to the spiritual platform, he will be disturbed and will again return to the material platform, according to Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th Canto, Chapter 2, Text 32. Yenye Ravandaksha Vimuktamaninas Tvayasta Bhavad Avishuddha Buddhaya Arura Krishrena Parampadam Tada Padantyado Nadrita Yushmad Agrayaha. Such people may become sannyasis, but unless they take shelter of Krishna's lotus feet, they will return to the material platform to perform philanthropic activities. In this way, one's spiritual life is lost. This is to be understood as being devoured by the black snake. Does anyone have any questions? Yes. Yes, because he will not be satisfied. The constitutional position of the spirit soul is to engage in the devotional service of the Lord. And unless one engages in the bhakti yoga process, he will not be satisfied. He will not achieve spiritual upliftment, and he will not be able to maintain his spiritual life. It is only through serving Krishna that we get the mercy of Krishna, because that's our constitutional position. We are tiny parts and parcels of Krishna, and our nature is to serve the Supreme Lord. Only in the process of devotional service can the living entity be satisfied, not by any other means. And therefore he will fall down again into the material pool. This is the condition of the impersonalist. Why would they become? I don't know. I think you have the answer. Oh, that's right.
That because of the contamination of Mayavad philosophy, when they actually see the real platform, they can't understand. They think it's illusion. In other words, this is why Lord Chaitanya says it's very dangerous to read and understand Mayavad philosophy. I think everything else everybody said is true, but I think that, it says that you get people who are real Mayavadis, and then they think Krishna is just, a product of material energy or something like that, because they think everything is just void. So that's what they get. But, yeah. And they can't keep it because, what does it say here? Yenye Ravindaksha Vivukti Maninas. I mean, they're going to fall down again. Anyway, that was just a thought.
And also because it goes against one's own self-interest and one's own nature to deny that there is a supreme being, because that has nothing to do with a real identity. Therefore, a person becomes really confused. I'm achieving this level, and yet I'm not satisfied, because that person is denying the supremacy of the Supreme Lord, indirectly maybe, sometimes directly. And then when you go against your own natural personality, then of course there's going to be chaos.
By engaging in the service of the Lord and glorifying the Lord. Harinama, Harinama, Harinama eva kevalom, kalona steva steva gatiranata. By this chanting process, one becomes enlightened, enlivened, and attains pure devotional service. This is why Prabhupada emphasized so much Harinam, and it's emphasized in the Shikshastika, which we'll be chanting very soon. So this process is so blissful that everything is sweet. The kirtans are sweet, the prasadam is sweet, the deities are sweet, the devotees are sweet. Sweetness personified. What's that special prayer from?
Okay.
Purva dike tate mati alpa kudite danera jara. Am I on the right verse? Yes, 135. However, if you dig up a small quantity of dirt on the eastern side, your hands will immediately touch the pot of treasure. Here it is. The Vedic literatures, including the Puranas, state that according to the position of the conditions, different processes, Karmakanda, Jnanakanda, the yogic process, and the Bhakti Yoga process. Karmakanda is compared to wasps and drones that will simply bite if one takes shelter of them. Jnanakanda, the speculative process, is simply like a ghost who creates mental disturbances. Yoga, the mystic process, is compared to a black snake that devours people by the impersonal cultivation of kaivalya. However, if one takes to Bhakti Yoga, he becomes quickly successful. In other words, through Bhakti Yoga, one's hands touch the hidden treasure without difficulty. Yeah, we see Prabhupada repeating the same thing to... Yes? Oh, okay. So we're on the second paragraph? Okay. 135. Okay. The revealed scriptures conclude that one should give up fruitive activity, speculative knowledge, and the mystic yoga system, and instead take to devotional service, by which Krishna can be fully satisfied. Text 137. The Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna said, "My dear Uddhava, neither through Astanga Yoga, the mystic yoga system to control the senses, nor through impersonal monism, or an analytical study of the absolute truth, nor through study of the Vedas, nor through austerities, charity, or acceptance of sannyas, can one satisfy me, as much as by developing unalloyed devotional service unto me." Purport. This and the following verse are quoted from Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th Canto, Chapter 14, Text 20 to 21. The explanation for this verse is given in Adi Leela, Chapter 17, Text 76, Text 138. Bhaktyaham Aikya Grahaya Shradayatma Priya Satam Bhakti Punati Man Nishta Swapakan Api Sambhavat. Being very dear to the devotees and sadhus, I am attained through unflinching faith and devotional service. This Bhakti Yoga system, which gradually increases attachment for me, purifies even a human being born among dog eaters. That is to say, everyone can be elevated to the spiritual platform by the process of Bhakti Yoga. Ataiva Bhakti Krishna Praptira Upaya Abhideya Pali Tare Sarva Shastre Gaya. The conclusion is that devotional service is the only means for approaching the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This system is therefore called Abhideya. This is the verdict of all revealed scriptures. Purport. As Lord Krishna states in Bhagavad Gita, Chapter 18, Text 55, Bhaktyamam abhijananti yavanyaschasmi tatvataha tato mam tatvato gyatva vishyate tadanantaram. One can understand me as I am, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of me, by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. The aim of life is to get rid of the material conditioning and enter into spiritual existence. Although the Shastras prescribe different methods for different men, the Supreme Personality of Godhead says that one ultimately must accept the path of devotional service as the assured path of spiritual advancement. Devotional service to the Lord is the only process actually confirmed by the Lord. Sarvadharman parityagya mamekam sharanam vraja. Bhagavad Gita 1866. One must become a devotee if one wants to return home back to Godhead, of course, and become eternally blissful. Haribol. Is that? Thank you.
Nice class.
Thanks for being such open ears and also helping me along the way. Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Shri Radha Gopinatha, all glories to Shri Chaitanya, all glories to Shri Prabhupada.
Jai.
Bhaktivedanta purport. Hare Krishna.
Jai Shri Radha Golokananda ki jai.
Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Enam Kanvandam Maravindadalaya Taksham Bharavatam Samasitam Buddhasundaram Kandar Bhagom Vidamaniya Vishesha Shobham Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Asa Sakale Priya Priti Manti Pasyan Vipan Vikayanti Chiram Naganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya
Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Yasomati Nandana Brajo Varunagara Gokularam Jana Kana 7 Yasomati Nandana Brajo Varunagara Gokularam Jana Haribo Yasomati Nandana Brajo Barunagara Gokularam Jana Kana Hey Gopi Parana Dana Madana Manohara Paranadana Madana Manohara Hari Kaliyadamuna Vidana Kaliyadamuna Vidana Amalaharina Mamiya Vilasa Amalaharina Mamiya Vilasa Vipina Purandara Navina Nagaravura Vamsivadana Suvasa Vipina Purandara Navina Nagaravura Vansivadana Suvasa Brajajana Palana Surakulana Sana Brajajana Palana Surakulana Sana Nanda Godanara Koala Nanda Godanara Koala Govinda Madhava Navanita Taiskara Govinda Madhava Navanita Taiskara Sundarananda Gopala Sundarananda Gopala Jamuna Tatacharang Gopi Vasanahara Rasarasika Kripa Moya Hey! Jamuna Tatachara Gopi Vasanahara Rasarasika Kripa Moya Hey! Radha Vallabha Vallabha Vrindavana Natabara. Radha Vallabha Vrindavana Natabara. Bhakti Vinodasraya Yasomati Nandanam Yasomati Nandanam Yasomati Nandana Brajo Varunagara Gokularam Janakana Amalaharinam Mamya Vilasa Amalaharinam Mamya Vilasa Govinda Madhava Navanita Taskara Amalaharinam Mamya Vilasa Shri Radha Vallabha Vrindavana Natavara.
Lord Krishna is beloved son of Yashoda, transcendental lover in the land of Braj, the delight of Gokula, known by the nickname Kana, the wealth of the lives of the gopis, the attractor of Cupid, and punisher of the serpent Kaliya. These pure holy names of Lord Hari are sweet of full nectarian pastimes, Lord of the 12 forests of Braj, ever youthful, the best of lovers, player on the flute, an excellent dresser, protector of the inhabitants of Braj, destroyer of demoniac dynasties, keeper and tender of cows, giver of pleasure to cows, land, and spiritual senses, husband of the goddess of fortune, butter thief, and beautiful little cowherd boy of Nanda Maharaj, wanderer of the Yamuna river banks, thief of the garments of the gopis, enjoyer of the mellows of the rasa dance, very lover and beloved of Sri Radha, the great dancer of Vrindavan, and the only shelter of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai. We had a nice Harinam yesterday in downtown Hillsborough, and the only person we were missing was Anadi. Because he had done so much service during the day, he was tired. But you can see he's got the ability to lead that beautiful kirtan. Chaito darpanam marjanam bhavamahatadagni kirvadanam Shreyakairavya chandrikavitaranam Vijavadu jivanam Anandam buddhivardhanam Pratipanam Burnamrita swadanam Sarvadma snapanam Param vijayate Shri Krishna sankirtanam Nam namakari bahuda nija sarva shaktis tatrapitani amita smarane nakala etadrishita vakripa bhagavan mamapi durdaiva midrishami hajjani nanuraga trinadapi sunichena tarorapi suhishuna Amani namana dana kirtaniya sadahari Nadranam najanam nasundarim kavitam va jagadisha kamaye mama janmani ishvare bhavatad bhaktir ahoitaki twai ainanda tanuja kinkaram patitam mam vishame bhavam buddha kripayatava bada pankaja Stita duli sadrashim vachintaya Nayanam glashu daraya Varanam gadgadu hridaya gira Pulakarnishitam vapukada Tavanamagrahane bhavishyati Yugayatam namishena Chakshusha bravashayatam Shunayatam jagat sarvam Govindam virahename Ashlishyavapadam ranastumam Adarshanam marmahata karotuva Yatatatava vidadatulam pato mat prananatastusa eva napara. Victory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It is the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. Oh, my Lord, congregational chanting of your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you've invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. Oh, my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by your holy name, but I'm so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble mind, thinking oneself lower than a straw on the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy